So it's time for you to actually get involved and give your ideas for some future updates on World of Tanks. Of course, I've gathered a list of some of the comments I've seen on my YouTube channel, and we're going to put that all into one video and try and actually get some good stuff going for World of Tanks console. And then we're going to basically have a look through what Wargaming have said previously as to what they're going to do on the updates, and then of course what I've seen in the comments, and of course from whatever you leave in this video in the comment section down below, we'll obviously talk about it, try and get a good discussion. And the more and more of you that actually comment down below what you actually want to see within World of Tanks, then it's going to be better for us overall, and I can try and feed that back to Wargaming. I know that sometimes, you know, they don't always listen, but if we don't actually make any noise, then of course they're not going to do anything at all. They'll just do whatever they want, and that obviously isn't necessarily the best thing for you as a player. So first things first, what have I seen in the comments? Well, it is about new players, the lack of experience on the game, about all of the kind of aspects of the game whereby people are basically YOLOing in, they don't understand the game mechanics and stuff like that, and you're seeing that a lot of the games are actually a lot shorter. So in terms of what the solution to that, or some of the comments that I've seen, well, we've basically got tutorials and guides are basically the way of actually kind of combating that and being able to deal with the lack of experience within the game. Of course, me as a content creator on YouTube, I do try and kind of fill that guide kind of area, but there's only so much I can do. There's only so many videos I can produce a week, and of course that sometimes isn't enough. And, you know, I'm not necessarily saying I'm the best kind of place to go for a guide, but I try my best, and I guess that that's something that Wargaming should be focusing on, trying to just improve the tutorial system within the game, maybe even add a separate section within World of Tanks itself. Now, secondly, in terms of what could improve World of Tanks, I think new tank lines and new maps would be something that everyone, of course, is going to want. I know that a lot of you have been posting comments about the double-barreled tanks. Of course, we've got the multi-turreted tanks coming into the game very soon. And then, of course, we also have the wheeled vehicles. Now, all of them will be coming into the game at some point. But what I'd like to see is some more console-exclusive tanks to World War II mode. I know that Wargaming are kind of moving towards trying to do that, but I also know that they have the Cold War game mode that they're trying to develop at the same time to bring in the new British tanks within Cold War. Of course, that's going to cause some problems with the player base. I don't quite know how they're going to work out the development, and they are only a small team on World of Tanks console, so it's going to take a long time for them to be able to develop new content. I think that, you know, having that split of the player base is going to cause that kind of developmentation problems and stuff like that within the game. I think that that is something which Wargaming need to reassess. Do they have the player base on both of them? Do they have enough people to actually develop on both of the player bases? Because if you split the player base, what's going to happen is you're going to get wanting both of them the same amount of development, and if you're producing less and less content for both than you were previously, everyone's going to get upset. And I think that that's really key, that they bring out enough content regularly that people don't get bored of the game, they don't leave, they don't find it a grind, they don't find that it stagnates. I think that that's really key to developing a good game, and hopefully, you know, as with most of you commenting down below and in the previous videos, then I think that that is something that I would really like to see within the game. Of course, we have some of the revamped maps coming back into the game, things like we've had Westfield, we've had a few new maps come back into the game as well, so I think that that's really good. I think we have some new ones coming back as well, so we have Redshire, and we have a few of the older maps coming back in, Muravanka, and a couple of other ones that have been confirmed. But I think trying to step up the amount of maps that are coming back into the game, as well as bringing in new maps that no one's ever seen before, I think that's really good and kind of key. Of course, we've got some maps that aren't even in the game yet, and some of them that we haven't seen in years. So yeah, would be interesting to see some of those come back into the game, and as quickly as possible is something that you guys in the comment section down below I've noticed, and it doesn't go unnoticed by Wargaming too, hence why they've been producing more and more maps as quickly as possible, I think, since the development of Cold War and the whole map kind of catastrophe that we had after update 6.0 in World of Tanks console. Now, thirdly, I think that it's really, really crucial that they sort out the matchmaker. Yes, Wargaming have said that they are going to be focusing on trying to improve the matchmaker and the balance of the matchmaker with classes. I think that +1, -1 is something a lot of you have been saying for, have been gunning for. I know a lot of the newer players have been gunning towards +1, -1, and I think that that is something that I would really, really, really want to see within World of Tanks console. I think that that isn't talked about enough. I think that it certainly has some problems. The current matchmaker, the changing that they're going to be doing, or the changes I should say, that they're going to be doing to the matchmaker currently are that they are going to avoid that rotation so that it's more random. It's not going to be this set like queue of maps so that people can't pick the map that they're on. I think it would be better if Wargaming implemented a system by which you could actually pick the maps that you wanted to be in terms of, yes, you could only ban 2 maps totally, and I think that that would be really, really good for the game. It allows people to avoid playing terrible maps for the class that they're going to be playing, and World of Tanks PC have implemented that on their game, so I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do that on console. Yes, the player base numbers might be a thing, but maybe just a couple of test weekends where we could actually do that would be really, really appreciated by the community, and I know that that is something that I've seen a lot of the comments recently too. As far as other things that can keep people entertained, I've seen a lot of suggestions. We've had things from changes to game modes. They want new game modes or missions or some sort of extra thing alongside the season, because once you reach rank 100 on the season, then it's kind of a bit stagnant. You don't really have anything to do, and if you don't really enjoy grinding through the tech tree lines, which I don't blame you, the tier 6s at the moment have been an absolute nightmare, and so yeah, although they can be fun when you come in a top tier match, that doesn't often happen very much, and I guess that comes in with a matchmaker. And so if they introduce +1, -1, and then they also bring in these kind of events where you can actually play some different tanks and you're not going to get punished for it, then I think that that's very, very good for the game. I think that it's going to help the new players out as well as some of the older players. You know, you're going to have fun either way, whether you're playing in +1, -1 or +2, -2. I also feel like, you know, sometimes it is kind of cool to see +2, -2 when you're the underdog, but unless you are a good player, it really isn't that much fun. And you know, how many people have enough time to be able to put so much experience that they can consistently come top even when they're -2? I think that, you know, that's only a small number of the proportion of players, and if the proportion of players don't enjoy it and they're not going to play the game, then that's where the money comes in. And so, yeah, I think that it would be really good for the health of the game to be bringing in +1, -1, maybe not completely permanently, but I feel like just putting it in on weekends, what Wargaming have currently done, I don't think that would be enough. And I think that if you want to bring in new players and keep hold of them, which is the key problem World of Tanks actually has, is actually maintaining the player base that they actually have brung in every single month, I think that that would be really key. And if they want to maintain the new player experience to a high level, then that's something they're going to have to do in order to bring in fresh players as well. More novel changes could come in the form of some things like new equipment and crew skills. I think that that would be something very, very useful. I've seen a fair few comments actually about this, and yes, there's been a lot of things saying I just want my crew skills to return to, you know, pre 6.0 update, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. Wargaming aren't going to go back now. All they'll do is they'll basically bring back the old style HUD, I expect, as they're currently working on that. So if you enjoyed the old style, if you enjoyed the old HUD, it's coming back into the game. I wouldn't worry about it. It will take maybe a month and a half maybe before it comes into the game, but it will be back eventually. So if you really did enjoy that kind of aspect on the World War II mode, it will probably come back as an option, and I think that that is something that will bring back a lot of the older players. I don't think we're ever going to get a revert from the crew skills that we currently have, and so if they want to make it better, if they want to make it improved, if they want to try and at least make a go of it, then yeah, I think more crew skills, more equipment, just having a more diverse amount of perks that are actually useful, because a lot of them, they're generally not that useful, and I think that if you make them a bit more competitive in all of the aspects, then people aren't just going to pick the exact same crew skills, which I find that I do pretty much every single time now. You know, getting the Sixth Sense, the Brothers in Arms equivalent now, as Born Leader, and then of course Rapid Loading. That's pretty much the first 3 perks that you ever pick, and then of course you want Camo. And a lot of the time, you'll just consistently go through the exact same thing. Same with equipment. If you can get vertical, or if you can get gun stabilizer, then yeah, you'll be able to actually have a better game. So yeah, you're going to pick that on. Then you're going to pick loading time as well, because you want the more DPM. If you don't pick that, then you're going to be at a significant disadvantage in every single fight or engagement that you come into if someone else doesn't have it as well. And then yeah, those are basically the equipment that you're going to pick. Coated optics then, and yeah, if in a more novel tank build, maybe like the Panzer 5-4, then you'd pick the ramming perk, and then you'd also pick some of the things like improved speed to get higher speed when you're actually ramming people, but for the most part that isn't something that anyone's going to really know about or notice. But yeah, I think more crew skills, make it more varied, give the opportunity to have some more novel builds that people don't really think about, makes the game much more interesting, and it allows players to experiment with various different things without being at too much of a significant disadvantage from the more meta perks within the game. Continuation of the current kind of game balance and game fixing and stuff like that, and the fixes coming into World of Tanks are something that needs to be done. Obviously, what I would recommend, kind of links in with the new tanks, is balance some of the older premium tanks. So things like the Super Pershing, the T26E4. Then you have things like they've recently done to the Mauer Breaker, made it a little bit more playable, allowed people to actually have good games in it, because to be honest, if you bought the Mauer Breaker, I feel sorry for you. Now, with the buff that's coming on Tuesday and the new update, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as bad. If they just did that instead of maybe... It doesn't take too much time, I wouldn't expect, in order to actually just change a couple of values of the actual armour thickness, because I'm pretty sure it will just be a case of you can change the actual value within the coding. Don't know entirely, of course, it is all up to how the coding actually works by Wargaming. I have no background in that, but I wouldn't expect it would be too much work, if that makes sense. Yes, it might be a little bit of work, but compared to actually bringing in something completely new and something where they have to make it all from scratch, it's going to be a lot easier, isn't it? It's not going to, take up too much dev time comparatively to bringing in completely new mechanics and completely new tanks, whereby people could have the same amount of enjoyment playing some of the older premium tanks, put them on sale, put them out for people to actually buy when they get buffed. That's going to be good. It's going to bring in money for the game, which is always a good thing. People are going to be able to play some of the old premium tanks that they bought that were competitive at the time and just aren't at all now. Type 59, the first version, not the second one. You've got things like the Super Pershing, the CDC, the M4A1, Revelarize. You've got loads and loads of old premium tanks, the T34, the American Heavy. Then we've got loads and loads of things that just aren't competitive whatsoever. All of them needed a buff probably like 2 or 3 years ago, and they've still been left so far behind now. I think that would be a really good change, and of course let me know in the comment section down below what you'd rather see. Do you want brand new tanks, or do you want more balancing changes to some of the old ones to make them more competitive? Just let me know in the comment section down below, and of course this video being featured mainly for your kind of thoughts and opinions that I've seen in the comment section. Of course, leave them on this video, because that's kind of what the aim of it. And of course, if you did enjoy it, please hit that like button, and if you didn't enjoy it, please hit the dislike button and let me know exactly what you thought I could do better within the video. And of course, a massive thank you to making it this far within the video, and of course a big thank you to the channel members. Check out some other content that should be on screen right now if you want to, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.